That's after a post-workout meal. Some turmeric rice, some sweet potatoes, some Nordic salmon, some avocado, and some asparagus and some spinach. All very healthy and good foods to get in best shape of my life. Let's do it.
Doe eens nog eens. Doe eens je tieten. Coolie. Het is echt.
What's up guys, welcome to Vintage Genetics, where it is all about classic bodybuilding, and this is part 2 of my experience at the Arnold Classic 2019 in Columbus, Ohio. So right now you just saw at the first clip how I looked in the evening before, after a post-workout meal. So this is in the morning where I weigh literally a couple of kilos lighter, or about 5 pounds lighter. That always happens with me when I sleep. I lose a lot of water weight. So in the morning we always check the shape, and here I weigh about 5 or 6 pounds below what I'm allowed to weigh on stage. So here the conditioning is pretty good, but I'm a little fat, of course, as you can see. But here my coach is checking my shape, checking some of the poses to see if everything is coming together. So keep in mind, this is the flat shape, and on top of this we have to add, of course, some carbohydrates, some pumping up, which really makes me look very different. But as you can see, this by far is my most conditioned version that I've ever brought to any stage, and I was very content with how I looked in the morning, because usually in the morning the conditioning is always pretty good, but the fullness isn't there, and you have to combine the fullness with the conditioning to look amazing on stage. And pretty much the rest of the day after the check-in in the morning, I am resting at the apartment, and the rest basically already went to the expo area when it was being built up, to see where I had to be for the weigh-ins, to see where I had to be for the tanning, and just to see how it was parking there, how to get there, how long the drive was, how big the area was. So pretty much it wouldn't be a surprise when we get there for the first time how everything goes, because if you miss the athletes meeting, which is the evening before the show, which on a Thursday, that was Thursday evening, then you are banned from competing. And here you can see the pretty amazing tank tops and shirts you can buy at the Arnold Classic. I actually got one of those, and the Arnold Classic sent me one of those to my home address, a t-shirt, which is pretty amazing. But here you can see that the Arnold Expo is still being built up, and this is the day pretty much before the Expo is completed. So they had a lot of work to do in a couple of hours basically. And there you can see that on Friday, March 1st at 1 p.m. the Arnold Classic Physique pre-judging would begin. Here you can see the map of the Expo. You can see the stage right there where it would be competing. So everybody at the Expo could pretty much watch the show, which is amazing. And here you can see very popular bodybuilders like Mr. Olympia, Sean Roden, just walking around. So at this environment you see a lot of famous things, people, but also statues like this one. You've pretty much seen it all over Instagram already, people posing with this very famous Arnold statue. And then we're off to another workout in the gym. So pretty much the workouts that I'm doing in the week before the show aren't really that taxing on the body, because you have to remember, if you actually build up lactic acid, if you really go for that maximum weight, if you really have muscle ache, that attracts fluid in between the muscle fibers. So you don't want water retention there. You want water retention inside the muscle cells and not in between the muscle fibers or under the skin. So what I'm doing here is simply contracting and stretching the muscle with a decent resistance, but not going that heavy that I cannot go on any longer. So usually it's about 15 reps, sometimes 20 reps, just really focusing on contracting that muscle, getting as much blood in there, because always after the workout we check out the shape, and that we just need to have a little pump in the muscles there, just so we can mimic what I would be doing backstage. So because backstage you're pretty much loading up with carbs a little bit, then 2 hours before you go on stage, you do nothing, you don't eat anything, just rest, and then about half an hour or 20 minutes before going on stage, you warm up the entire body. I personally do it by doing a lot of push-ups, doing some shoulder work, some bicep work, some tricep work, and that's it. And then you get a pretty nice pump, and I'm trying to simply get a nice pump right here just to see what I look like as I would be going on stage after this. So then you get a really nice image of what we still need to do, sodium-wise, fluid-wise, carbohydrate-wise, just to see whether we are on the right track. So if you remember my shape in the morning, when I work out, I look literally 5 to 10 pounds heavier, because usually, and a lot of people do this, a lot of bodybuilders, pretty much every bodybuilder does this, you always post the shape with a pump on Instagram. So if you just walk around not having a pump at all, without flexing, you look very different from when you are pumped up or when you are on stage, when you have the best lighting. But the trick is to have the best possible physique show up on stage. And that means you just need to have the perfect amount of carbs inside of the muscle, pulling the water under the skin inside the muscle cells, have a nice pump so that the muscle is pushing up against the skin, making it look even more conditioned, even more full, which is what bodybuilding and being your best is all about, especially nowadays where conditioning is so important. And this is the next day in the gym, in a different gym, a very quiet gym with no one around. As you can see, I'm still being filmed by the professional film crew Hot Shots Productions, which will be making a documentary coming out of my experience of this Arnold Classic. And you will be seeing the high quality footage of the stage later on in this video, which is pretty awesome. So here's an example of what happens after doing a workout, just a light workout with light weights, just getting a nice pump. And this is the final check-in with the coach after having done a workout, because this is the very last workout we do before the weigh-ins, and after the weigh-ins we do nothing but rest, do some posing practice, and then simply wait until the show begins. And every gym has different lighting, of course. This lighting was decent. I liked it a little bit better at the previous gym, but you can still see quite enough. You can see that the fullness is there, the conditioning is there, and I felt pretty good here as well. Of course, a little tired and depleted, but that's all part of the game. And you always do some quarter turns, some other poses, so that people who are objective could actually tell you how to improve upon your posing, because that's very important on stage. You can have a very good physique, but if your posing isn't perfect, that will be a shame, because then all the work you've done to bring out those little details you won't be able to show on stage. So every time we hit some poses in the gym just to see if everything is still intact. And especially the back poses were very important to me to hit correctly, because there were some guys with very good backs on stage, and it was really my intention not to, look like a fool next to them. So of course we wanted to show the conditioning in the lower back, the fullness in the upper back, the shoulder definition that is pretty unique to my physique. You have to show your strong points on stage and try to hide the weaknesses a little bit, at least, when you're standing next to very conditioned, seasoned, and professional bodybuilders like they all are. But here you can see that I'm definitely more conditioned than on any show beforehand, so I was very happy and confident going into the show for sure. Alright, as I'm checking the athlete schedule, it's a Thursday right now, and that means one day before the show. The shape is better than ever, really much better than I've ever had. Very confident about the show. Every single day the meals remain the exact same, not taking any risk, not loading super high at all. So I'm very confident about my showing on the Arnold Classic stage. Right now I'm just laying in bed, letting everything rest. About an hour after every meal I do my posing routine and some posing practice shuttling those carbs inside the muscles where they belong, and that's just about it. Then tonight around 7 p.m. There will be the athletes meet and greet, basically a check-in for the Classic Physique athletes. There won't be a meet and greet for Classic Physique, just for the open class and the bikini classes, and because the room wasn't big enough or something, but doesn't matter. I will be going to the athletes meeting, the mandatory meeting. Then we will be doing weigh-ins at 7:30 at night. So it's going to be interesting if everyone is going to be at their weight limit or above. That's going to be interesting for sure. Then you will receive a lot of stuff during the meeting, and then around 9 p.m. I will be getting my first 10, and then tomorrow morning the second layer of 10, and then at 1 p.m. the show will commence, and then the top 6 will be decided, and then at 7 p.m. in the evening tomorrow will be the final. So only the top 6 can show their 2-minute posing routine, but that's going to be awesome because I want to show you guys, and I want to show Arnold the routine that I've come up with. Simply, I want him seeing me performing some Arnold poses that he might recognize. So anyway guys, just gonna relax here and see you in the next one.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let's be seated, please.
And this is why we celebrate so many different sports, because each athlete, no matter what sport you do, is an inspiration.
And honestly, this was the first time in my life that I saw Arnold Schwarzenegger in real life, in person. So I didn't expect him to be at the athletes meeting at all. I didn't expect that, because this is my first time, of course, at the Arnold Classic, so I didn't know he would be there. But in hindsight, it was very logical that he's there, of course, to explain everything. But to me, he's such an idol and such an inspiration that it's weird to suddenly see him in real life amongst us, pretty much regular people. But to most people who have been at the Arnold Classic before, it was of course very normal. But to me, this was already an amazing experience for sure. And there wasn't a chance to really capture the weigh-ins, but I weighed in at 243 and something pounds, while still wearing a shirt. So that means I still had at least 4 pounds to go to reach my 247 pound weight limit. So that means for next show, I still have some muscle to fill in, because this was at least at 7:30 p.m. that the weigh-in was. And in the morning, I literally weighed around 241 pounds. So I still have quite some muscle to add to my frame, which is amazing, because that means I still have growth to do during this 1 year that I'm taking off in the off season, which most of you guys already know. And here we are at the backstage area. So this is basically at the expo itself. They pretty much built this square wall right here where you are being transported to before going backstage, behind the stage literally. So this is pretty much a resting area for the athletes before going on stage.
Alright guys, this is it. Less than 2 hours before going on stage. Just laying down here, making sure the legs get a nice rest. Already did all the eating. Just waiting until we are gonna warm up, and then we'll be on stage doing the 1-minute presentations and then the pre-judging. So yes, the next thing you will see will be just that. So let's do it.
Alright, so the first thing we'll see now is the 1-minute posing routine that everyone gets before the actual comparison.
Vissers. Thank you, Wesley. Wesley Vissers, thank you, Wesley. Here comes competitor number 9. All right, here comes the next 6. Steve Lorius, Wesley Vissers, Jason Lowe, Penex Pierre, Ravante Moody, Ricky Moten.
Alright guys, I don't want to talk too much through this, as you've guys all seen the results. But next to me is Steve Valorius, 2nd place, and on the other side is someone who also placed above me. I believe either 7 or number 8. I was number 10, but this is the pre-judging comparisons. Just standing next to each other, comparing on numerical order, so no callouts yet.
Quarter turn right.
In the half, Jason. Chest up.
Quarter turn right. Face front. Front double bicep.
Right on the leg. Chest up. Step legs. Hold out.
Side chest. Back double bicep. Abdominals and thighs. Your favorite classic pose. Thank you. Excellent, okay. They're gonna split those up. We're gonna put them on each side, and then we're gonna bring up our next competitors, the final 5.
Alright, so the next group will actually be the final comparisons. That's going to be compared in numerical order, so no one knows who is ranked where yet. So after this group, you will know the exact callouts, which I'm actually going to show you right now. But I'm going to show you the callout where I was in, which wasn't the first or the second. I think it was the 3rd callout. So I was kind of surprised to be not even in the 2nd callout, but I'll show you that one right now.
14. Three and 8 switch.
So here in this callout, I was switched with number 3, who I believe was ranked at place number 5 in the finals. And the person next to me, who has number 9 on his trunks, was also placed ahead of me. Again, not sure, either 7 or 8 place. But then again, I was placed to the outside, and usually in a callout, you're placed, they're placing the guys right now to see who is the better one. But if you're on the outside, that means you're one of the least impressive physiques according to the judges. So that's what I was thinking right then. I was like, okay, I'm being switched from the middle, the center, which is usually the top guy of that callout, to the outside. So I was like, okay, I'm not even in the 1st or 2nd callout. I'm in the 3rd callout, I believe, and the place to the outside. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to be scored very highly right now, knowing that only the top 6 were allowed to go to the final. So I'm going to leave this up to you. This is the first time I'm also seeing the high quality 4K footage right here, documented by Hotshot Productions, basically the film crew who went with us for the Arnold Classic to document this entire trip. So this is the first time that I'm actually seeing high quality footage. Of course, I'm seeing some remarks about my physique. The lighting here wasn't that great overall, but I can see that my abs weren't as deep as they should or could have been, but the conditioning here is better than any other show I've ever done, so for that I'm very happy that I was able to show that on this stage. Alright, and I'm gonna end this video with this clip from a different angle, a further angle that just keeps showing you exactly this perspective from afar. So my overall experiences at the Arnold Classic were amazing. I'm actually going to post a part 3 of walking around the expo and doing some extra workout at the Powerhouse Gym in Columbus, Ohio. But the overall experience was absolutely amazing, and mostly that is because of all the comments I've gotten from the people who watched the show, who were at the expo, walking around the expo, taking so many pictures, and just talking to so many people about what they thought of the placings, what they thought of the show, Classic Physique, how I represent it, and just all of you guys with your amazing feedback that you always give me. So watching this video, I can see that I have some improvements to make. Honestly, being placed number 10 was a bit low in my opinion. I could have placed higher looking at every other competitor. Of course, Steve Loris next to me, amazing, ranked number 2 in this show, amazing. To me, he is the Classic Physique guy of this entire show, in my opinion, the complete package, and I'm really curious to see how we will do at the Olympia for sure. But for me, I'm going to take a year off just to work on all the weak points that I have seen in this footage. And yes, I'm just very excited to finally have some kind of an off season. Haven't had one since 2017, so I've only been able to make incremental improvements overall without actually gaining that much muscle, for example, in the legs as I would have wanted. Of course, you can see from this footage compared to like a few months ago that my legs have definitely improved. They have become more in proportion to the upper body. But as you can see, they are rewarding the guys, the physiques, with bigger legs and shorter, basically shorter guys overall, but they seem to have bigger legs in proportion to the upper body as well. I do want to remain having a dominant upper body, which in my opinion you can see in this lineup that my upper body stands out, but the total package simply needs to be refined. The posing needs to improve, and the presentation needs to be better. The conditioning will be much better next time as well. And will also be, I learned a lot from this experience. And every time we do a show, we will implement a slightly different protocol, slightly different, variations to the diet, the fluid, the sodium, because we keep getting closer to the ultimate peak level that you can achieve. And that really depends on how many shows you do, to know exactly what you need to do, what you and your coach need to do. But anyway, for a year I will be building up my physique, getting into a better flow in terms of bodybuilding overall, because to me, working out and building the body is what it's all about, and I haven't really been able to do that for at least the last year and a half. So I will be documenting that on Vintage Genetics. We're making a lot of gains, keeping it classic all the way. We'll be practicing a lot more posing, doing more vacuums, increasing the V shape, trying to improve the lats. The lats are inserted quite high, so I gotta work on that with my posing, and also working more on the back thickness, the quad sweep, the hamstrings, just a lot of smaller and bigger things that I can improve on to be even better than last time, which is exactly what bodybuilding is about to me. I just want to thank you for all your support. I want to thank you for all the feedback, all the comments, all the positivity, and do not forget to stay golden.